the moment, carried away from who you are. You're caught up in nothing, wasting your time chasing stars. You live in the moment, carried away from who you are.
quick. All right, good morning, everybody. We got a big day. NVIDIA earnings. At least big day for me. It's my largest holding. So we're going to take a look at what analysts in the market think about NVIDIA's earnings after market today. I won't be watching it live, but we'll definitely cover it tomorrow. We'll cover the pre today. We also got a lot of Meta news. Meta's Llama team has been having some shakeup and some drama. Mistral AI, surprisingly, I guess, has been taking a lot of talent. And also yesterday was the last day, or I don't know, this week was the end of Meta's antitrust trial, which we covered quite a bit when it first kicked off. So that's concluded, and it's now up to the judge. So we'll take a look at that. And we got more Apple news. Apple acquired a video game studio. And then we're going to take a look at some more Circle, some stablecoin. I've been liking the stablecoin, so yeah. Let's just jump right into it. Excuse me. We got some videos. Let's watch some for NVIDIA. Yesterday, I have I've shared this on stream here. I kind of changed up some of my scenes, and now I'm regretting it. First, let's look at NVIDIA. They are up just a little today, but they're actually up quite a bit yesterday. Yeah, it jumped quite a bit Monday, but I think this broader market was up too. I wish I actually showed that. Also, I'm looking if anyone works for a research or data company for the stocks, like I want a different program. I hate Yahoo Finance. Perplexity Finance is just it's very clunky. Would love something that allows me to look at news and stocks. Anyways, actually, NVDL, that the 2x leverage NVIDIA ETF, do they? Nope, you can't look it on here. Oh, wait, is this NVDL? No. Yeah, 2x leverage. I almost sold this yesterday, and I was like, you know what? I'm a gambling man. I'm not. But I was like, you know what? Fuck it. Let's just wait till after earnings. Hopefully they have a reasonable earnings. It goes up a little bit, you know. But that seems to be the consensus. We got modest beat is what they're calling it. The one worry is China, but I think because NVIDIA's they haven't been their biggest. They've slowly been kind of shrinking the business they do there, really not by their choice, but more so by governments and import restrictions. So they had to take a $5 billion write-off a few weeks ago because of their H20 chips that they couldn't sell now because of Trump's new export restrictions. So I think that's one worry, but I think overall, because China has just slowly been, they've been doing less and less business there, it's not going to be huge. I think China's like less than around 5% of their business. So, and we know domestically, you know, like they should be pumping, excuse me, they should be pumping the Blackwell chips, out now and actually getting them deployed. And just at Computex, he announced kind of like the like V2 or 3 or the next version of Blackwell 2 even. So really, I think what I would like to see is more answers on how the chip restrictions are going to impact them, what they are going to do or could do to get around it. And then I'd love to see more on NVLink Fusion and being able to interact with other other chips that isn't in the NVIDIA ecosystem, because I think that will be a good expansion to make up for lost business for the chip restrictions. And I also imagine that they are getting to market saturation, and they want to sell more to other customers who may not already be in the NVIDIA ecosystem and own kind of their full hardware stack. So I'd love to kind of hear more on that. But overall, I think last time NVIDIA beat earnings too, I think it was around this time last year. Like, it was like a big earnings. They beat it, but like everyone was expecting them to just smash earnings, and so just kind of like, okay, cool, and like the stock was like, just marginally up or down, and it wasn't really that big a deal. I could see that happening this time around as well. So yeah, we'll see. This dividend yield though is like just sad. I get it's like pennies. Well, okay, look at this though. Like, this is the shit we like to see though. Let's look at quarterly, makes more sense. Yeah, like this continual growth also with a $3 trillion market cap is crazy. And honestly, their PE is a little high, but it's not like insane too. Like, if we look at like, I guess I just want to look at like a healthy PE. Like, I feel like Meta's around 25. So like, yeah, I mean, NVIDIA's like, yeah, you're paying a little bit of a premium, it's like maybe double that, but that's about, I think that's fair. It's definitely high, but if that starts inching down, then like, I think, it's pretty good. I think that'd be pretty good. Yeah, so guess we'll see. Let's watch some analyst opinion here now. Expectations for NVIDIA. We got Bloomberg. Who's yeah, okay, we got analyst bros. Analyst bros actually. Finance bro, dude. How did I forget about the finance bro archetype when I was talking about my bro archetype yesterday? Oh, finance bro is one of the core foundational bros. Up there with tech bro. Shit, I forgot about them. Anyways, yeah, let's start here.
NVIDIA reports first quarter results after the bell today. Check out that chart. You can see that it has rebounded nicely. Join us now on what to expect. Expect Ben Ritzis, who's Melius head of technology.
Also, I hope people get that my title, "How to Print Money," is regarding NVIDIA's earnings. That's what it's regarding, all right?
Big numbers expected, but I don't know, how big do they have to be? Are there whisper numbers? Like, it's a 66% revenue gain year-over-year is expected, 50% plus gain in the bottom line. Well, if it does that, is that enough to move the stock higher? Or
this is what I was saying. I think he's talking about where last time, even though they did beat earnings like pretty well, the stock was just kind of sideways. So it's like, what? It's like, and I also think part of it is just because everyone does have high expectations, and the stock is already expensive, so it's like,
or they're even more bullish expectations.
Actually, this is one of those quarters that there's a bit of a nuance because there was a China write-off for $5.5 billion. So revenue sequentially, right? So the guidance is really all that matters. They usually beat by $2 or $3 billion. I wouldn't be shocked to see a couple billion-ish, maybe a little less this time. Actually, gaming was really good and data center, but the guy.
I forgot about gaming, and gaming this time around could make up for that China, because they early this year they launched the new 5000 series. I didn't even realize that. Although I think I guess it depends on how many cards they made, because it seemed like they were maybe like not pumping them out. They're not manufacturing them at a like at a level that like anyone could get one, and so I think that could depend, I guess. But I do think that gaming could make up for the lost business in China because of the new card launch.
Guidance is all that matters, really, and there's a loss of $4 to $5 billion in revenue from China for the July quarter, which is going to complicate guidance. But I think they're going to sound really good, Joe, because they're on the right side of Trump right now, and that's the big change from 90 days ago. Is that they have an ally in the White House who's cutting deals, and sovereign AI is going through the roof.
Yep. So and the sovereign AI is also regarding the NVLink Fusion, in my opinion, too, because NVIDIA is also just trying to get in to help countries build like supercomputers, even though again they may not have existing NVIDIA equipment, but NVIDIA can now go in, and then that's like American AI infrastructure going in, being installed, that is like good for the American influence and is in like the democratic AI kind of story I've been kind of pushing, I guess. With especially with like whole countries with I keep going back to OpenAI for countries, but that's kind of exactly what I imagine he's saying, and like how Saudi Arabia is now getting their like own sovereign AI that's like specific for Arabic, but NVIDIA's is a huge deal for NVIDIA to ink. And granted, Trump is kind of using NVIDIA as a bargaining chip, literally a bargaining chip, literally a chip, using NVIDIA's chips to bargain, it seems like. We saw Jensen in a suit in Saudi Arabia, which that means that he is politicking, he's doing politics, and he's not business Jensen, he's politics Jensen. So, but I also think that I wouldn't be surprised if Jensen or NVIDIA is like okay with that, so as long as they're actually getting paid and compensated properly for the chips, because it is business. And like if someone is kind of just like finding customers for you and be like, hey, like, can you like sell like 20,000 chips to this partner? Like, we already have the deal. Like, you just like yes or no, and it's like sure, yeah. It's like okay, cool. So. The sovereign AI, though, point is an interesting one. I think that could be a good growth area. But I think it's also dependent on, again, like, Trump administration, but he's, if he's on the good side. But I also think it's like OpenAI, like other AI, companies, corporations also needing to partner to get involved. I guess it just seems more complicated for now.
What we highlighted by talking about what the president said about Tim Cook, you think that the counter to that was he was comparing Tim Cook to Jensen Huang, who was there with him. So just being there with him.
Tim Cook is not on Trump's good side right now.
Puts NVIDIA on the right side of the White House?
Well, in terms of the Middle East,
kind of, yes.
In terms of the Middle East, though, they have aspirations to create these AI factories and take their excess energy and turn it into
just
tokens.
In terms of kissing a ring and
kissing a ring.
Yeah,
but
that helps.
It helps, but I don't know what Tim Cook would have done there. I mean, Tim Cook.
Roulette goes first. Who ends the handshake first? He's ready to like put his arm, do the old like Trump shoulder grab just in case. His arm's ready for defense here. The suck in, it's like the Trump. They're like, oh, Trump's like, Jensen's arm. He's like, oh, he's ready.
Going to Saudi Arabia, it's a small market for iPhones. They're not going to make iPhones there. But they're actually going to make AI in the Middle East.
Don't you think he wishes he went at this point?
Make AI in the Middle East? Yeah, they're going to train it. Oh, wait, what was that point he made about?
I don't know what Tim Cook would have done there. I mean, Tim Cook going to Saudi Arabia, it's a small market for iPhones. They're not going to make iPhones there. Yeah. But they're actually going to make AI in the Middle East.
Don't you think he wishes he went at this point?
Maybe he does. I wouldn't count Tim Cook out. Now, Tim, but Jensen right now is the most favored son of the U.S., and it's great to see. He's a great guy, and he's invented, and curated this whole AI boom. Now, Tim Cook, on the other hand, he's got a tougher hand because he built this whole thing in China. iPhone's a consumer device. It has nothing to do with the Middle East, really. And
bro, no way Trump is comparing Tim Cook to Jensen Huang based off of the Saudi Arabia deal. Like, what? How is that even relatable? Like, how are the two manufacturing iPhones and manufacturing AI or whatever he's kind of talking about. Like, bro, they are no way.
I wouldn't count him out. He's a good diplomat. He's operational excellence. The death of Apple's greatly exaggerated.
Okay. 3.3 billion. I mean, they're both, I don't know how you grow a $3.3 billion market cap company. Trillion, sorry, Jesus. Yeah, trillion, 3.3 trillion for NVIDIA. What is it? Is it going to be a $5 trillion company?
There's a really, really good chance, Joe. This company has a TAM, they say, of $1 trillion potentially. I think it's bigger than that. And the reason is that
TAM, total addressable market. I think it's just going to continue to grow. And I think as more emerging in technologies and industries get created that are either a branch of AI or based off of something, AI is the foundation, or we just get a whole new emerging technology, for example, like crypto, something like that. I guess anything that's compute that is, a digital technology, NVIDIA will benefit from that. And I don't think AI will be like the last technology. I think as we expand into space, there's a huge opportunity for, to expand into that as that grows. We have robotics that NVIDIA is already positioning themselves to be at the forefront of once that, humanoid robotics, at least once that becomes more mainstream. NVIDIA is already in other robotics, like, arms and shit. They have like software and everything. They're in other emerging technologies, but I guess my point is, so as long as all of those start to grow and take off, so will NVIDIA. And a lot of times too, it's like, or not a lot of times, but like all of those technologies that I talk about are still in their very early stages. Even AI is arguably still in its early stages. There's so much more value that NVIDIA could capture in these industries as the industry themselves grow. If NVIDIA is kind of like up, I need to start like drawing things on screen, because I realize that I use a lot of diagrams, but I'm using like my hands and stuff, and like that's horrible, like to explain. Like if NVIDIA is here, it kind of has like, branches into these industries. And if the circle represents their size, like, they might be small now, but as they continue to grow, so could also NVIDIA's, revenue in each of those sub-industries. And again, most of them are still very small. So, I mean, yeah, I think $1 trillion totally, but it's going to take time to get there. Quite a bit of time. And I think that there was I covered that with OpenAI. Where I think they said that it was going to be like $1 trillion market, and I was like way more bearish on that. Like I was just like, I mean, yeah, but like and I have the same opinion with this too, where it's like the general economy definitely still has to grow at a pretty large pace for us to even like have an industry that's specifically worth like $1 trillion. Like having a company have $1 trillion in like revenue, has that ever happened actually? Like in a year? Maybe like Aramco or some shit, some oil company, but yeah, the general economy just has to grow to like several magnitudes larger, and we do still have a while for that for any company that's like $1 trillion industry. So yeah.
They are created a lot of the architecture and stack for the next generation of the data center, from the hyperscaler down to the enterprise. Enterprise hasn't really even gotten going yet. So their share of data center capex is going to go up, and it's going to be huge. Now, if there's $1 trillion a year, let's say, in a couple of years, what's NVIDIA's share? It could be up to half. It could be, and I think it's bigger than $1 trillion, because there's a whole new paradigm in terms of how we compute and how we use AI.
And yeah.
And it's software is becoming AI factories. So the factories create tokens, they create software. It's a huge market. It's probably impossible to calculate.
So what do we listen for?
What we listen for is a change. 90 days ago, even at their GTC, I don't think they had any idea what was going on with Trump. Now they know he was with him in the Middle East. And I think we want to hear about sequential growth after this quarter when they take the China hit. if they're optimistic about sequential growth, the street's looking for double digits. And then we want to hear if calendar 26 is a growth year. And there's so much more information now than there was available even 2 months ago. That's really the key. And I think that the street's expectations for next year are very conservative, 25% or so growth in the data center business. They might be able to crush that.
Ben, if you're so convinced that he is most favored son right now and in so tight with the Trump administration, is there any chance that the H20 rulings would get reversed, that they'd be able to sell into the China market, or is that just off the table, gone forever?
You know, I was in...
Okay, also, with the H20s, I still don't get, like, can they not sell those anywhere else besides China? Like, I know they're less powerful and stuff, but, like, they have to have customers that'll be willing to pay, like, something for them. Like, what, I just gonna, like, just, like, throw them in the dumpster. It's like, no, I bet you they're gonna even use them themselves if, like, you know, so it's like, well, I wonder what they're gonna, like, are they gonna talk about what they're gonna do with all that inventory besides just write it off?
Taiwan very recently, and there was...
Is there any chance that the H20 rulings would get reversed, that they'd be able to sell into the China market, or is that just off the table, gone forever?
You know, I was in Taiwan very recently, and there was a buzz there. Oh, there's going to be a chip. There's going to be a chip, but it can't be based on what the H20 was. Right. And NVIDIA, you know, already wrote it off, and now you saw the Reuters article, and there's talks that there will be a chip. I think that there is a turn in momentum. I'm not sure which quarter they get a chip ready for China, but if there's a China deal with the Trump administration, I would not be shocked if NVIDIA is part of it. And it's like, hey, you can have a lower-end chip, because I think they've gotten through to Trump and his team that the world needs to be on a U.S. stack for AI.
Yes, this is what I've been pushing, and that's why the NVLink Fusion is a big deal, and I want to hear more about NVLink Fusion.
Rather than a Chinese stack. And I think that's resonating with the president after spending so much time with Jensen.
Really?
I do.
You can have it, but you just can't have what we have.
I agree, though. I actually agree with him, and I think that that is exactly what NVIDIA should be going to the Trump administration in selling to them, because it is true. Like, it is a legit thing. I think it's... Yeah, the incentives align for both parties, and including the AI companies. If we do want to beat China, if we want to have, like, an edge over them, and we want to beat China in the sense of going to our other countries and offering them the democratic American AI stack, instead of potentially China coming in with like Huawei and offering you know, their chips and you know, data center technology, AI technology, before we get in there, and then they're on the kind of like I'm exaggerating, but like the communist China, you know, AI stack instead of the like democratic AI stack. That's a legit thing, and that's what I think OpenAI for countries is positioning for, and I think that will be a big. I think we will think ourselves in the future, our past selves, for doing this when things get much more intense, like the AI race with China gets more intense.
Well, at least you have something, and we know what's going on. And they're 50%, according to Jensen, 50% of the AI researchers are Chinese, or in China.
The question is, does that slow them down from trying to produce their own?
Well,
I mean, right, the mother of invention.
Yeah, and that's a good question too, because even though like it does look like we may be giving them our chips, and like it doesn't look like a good thing, it's actually the fact that like it's already kind of, what I'm trying to say, us giving them their chips could potentially cause them, or could potentially make them not want to, you know, put as much money or effort into developing their own chips when they could just buy, you know, pre-made existing chips from NVIDIA. And it's the same with like sanctions and restrictions, whatever. It's all to kind of like curb their industry, but also not curbing it too much, so as they go and start making their own chips and their own solutions that will likely, you know, equal or surpass ours. And that's kind of what Huawei did, is like, because, you know, we were putting much harder restrictions. We were like, no H20s, you know, like no H100s, let alone their, like, you know, most powerful chips. behind the scenes, Huawei's like, all right, like then let's just start making our own if we can't rely on NVIDIA. Whereas like there could have been a different path that if NVIDIA or the Trump administration or Biden administration didn't put as hard of restrictions on, that we could have like dripped them these H20s that are like much worse than the American ones, but they likely would have like still kept using those because they were the best option they could get, and they couldn't make domestically as good of chips, and also they just didn't really care to put R&D into making chips because they had this, they had the American ones they were good enough. They're just, so like, what's the point? So it's like a balance to be made. I'm explaining this poorly right now, but hopefully you kind of get the idea. So I guess he's like, he's saying that like, if we don't give them any chips, or if we do give them some, like that might slow down their domestic development because they'll have like some chips that they could use. And it's not like they have zero and they have to like start like making it 100% in China. I think it's kind of too late for that though now. Like they know that that's what's going on, and that they're gonna just making their own chips will be the best decision long term in China.
Is a very powerful force, and I would argue that actually a lot of what Huawei has managed to do is a function of the mother invention, right? They've been sort of forced into a corner. They got to figure it out.
Yep.
If we give them these chips, you could argue maybe it means they don't have to figure it out as quickly. That could actually be helpful to us. Sort of
yeah. I think it's helpful that perhaps but I think it's the whole stack. I think it's using software, using, developing, having more people developing Dakuda, developing on the NVIDIA platform a trusted U.S. entity that everybody's familiar with in this country, I think is a big advantage, rather than wild, wild west, seeing what the developers do with Huawei and creating this whole separate ecosystem.
By the way, you for or against open source, given your views about China?
I'm for it. I'm for it. I think that DeepSeek, I think DeepSeek was some good innovations. Anyway, there was some really
Yeah, he's going to say mixture of experts, the kind of architecture they
good innovations there that then everybody can adopt and move the industry forward. And I think that I do like the open source, and I think it will be very useful for enterprise adoption. But I think it'll be a mix. There'll be a few closed and an open as well. I think it fosters innovation, guys.
All right. We got so many NVIDIA. Is this a new?
NVIDIA, of course, gearing up to report.
We're watching this because what did NVIDIA criticize? I think Jensen criticized the decision for Trump about his restrictions. Also, we're gonna watch this later. This looks cool. All right, let's watch this.
But after the bell tonight, the focus this quarter is about trade restriction following NVIDIA's $5.5 billion write-down on the inventory on the heels of the Trump administration's China export restrictions. Joining us this morning is the former head of the Defense Department's AI strategy, Gregory Allen. Gregory is now serving as the director of Wadhwani AI Center at the Center for Strategic and International Studies. Gregory, thanks for the help today. Appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for having me. It's good to be back.
You've helped us work through this before, coming off at GTC. How the demand side on data center we can talk about in a minute, but how do you think the company and Jensen Huang frame the issue of restrictions relative to their earnings?
Yeah.
Well, it's a pretty...
Yeah, I guess I do wonder what Jensen has to say about, like, on the earnings call, if he's going to directly mention Trump administration. Also, they misspelled it. They said the Trump administration, but... Yeah,
remarkable story that they've told. I mean, they're talking about a $5.5 billion inventory write-off. That is an extraordinary amount of money, the largest, or at least one of the largest write-offs in history. And that's because NVIDIA was banking that the Trump administration was not going to block their exports of these H20 AI chips, the chips that NVIDIA specifically designed to comply with prior export controls that the Biden administration has adopted. But the Trump administration has gotten tougher on China, even as it has gotten lighter on restrictions that the Biden administration placed on other places around the world, like the UAE, like Saudi Arabia, where multiple $100 billion deals were announced. And so in these upcoming earnings, what we're going to learn is not just the full impact of that write-off and what NVIDIA expects for its future business in China, but also just how much of that pie in the Middle East NVIDIA is going to get.
Right. Was it, do you think the company miscalculated the universality of China hawkishness? Or maybe they also didn't count on the degree to which Middle Eastern investment might be an offset?
So I think right now, NVIDIA is taking a strategy in Washington, D.C. of publicly praising the parts of the Trump administration's policy that they like repealing the Biden administration's AI diffusion rule, like brokering these deals with Middle Eastern countries, but loudly criticizing parts of the Trump administration policy that they don't like the chip export controls on China, which really have their roots in the first Trump administration. Export controls on Huawei were doubled down upon by the Biden administration, and now were tripled down upon by the second Trump administration. And if you think about the companies that have had success in influencing the Trump administration, it's the ones that tend to keep their differences with Trump administration policy private. And just after the Trump administration handed NVIDIA a win, now NVIDIA is turning around and criticizing the Trump administration. Folks who I've talked to who are in the Trump administration say that the people who were trying to help NVIDIA feel blindsided by this loud criticism just after they helped deliver a win.
Really? Interesting. I thought that this would be a good strategy. It's also kind of the tit for tat, but although Trump doesn't, it's more so Trump. Trump wants it to be one-sided and just him winning. I think that what Jensen's doing is a good strategy because, yeah, Trump did hand him a win, and so if he's up here with Trump, and then he criticizes him, it might drop him down a little bit, but he's still up here, compared to like Tim Cook, who's like off screen, down at my feet. I think this is good, and it's a balance because NVIDIA does need to push a bit to grow the business in a market that is very hot right now, i.e. China. But I think also just in other markets too. But I think that's fine what Jensen's doing. It's a balance, like you can't I think just because Trump did this quote unquote like deal for quote unquote like Jensen for him, I'm saying that like exaggerating. I don't think that should like matter. Like I guess like that to me that just seems like, yeah, that's a good but it was like a mutual deal, I guess. Like it benefited both parties, but also like NVIDIA probably would have gone there anyways and sold to the Middle East if Trump wasn't there. Like that's also something to think about. I don't know. I think this is fine by Jensen. It's a balance, like.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It feels like they have a good relationship, those two, the president and Jensen. So, Greg, since you were in the Defense Department, what about security? What about the security issue that is underlying all of this? Is it a better strategy to what they did, cancel the diffusion, make these deals with the Gulf countries to ally them away from China, or the export controls that the Biden administration put in place?
Well, the export controls that the Biden administration put in place really were targeted at China, even when they weren't targeted at China. And what I mean by that is that the AI diffusion rule was very concerned with the idea of chip smuggling. What happens when we sell chips to countries where the buyers may appear to be legitimate, but are actually fronts for China?
And we covered the black market for chips in China before, and it was like, there was one point where there's too much supply, where like the black market was like couldn't even find people. Or it was like toning down or something, but there is a big like black market for smuggling chips into China. Like that definitely exists.
And what the Trump administration has said is that they're going to do away with the parts of the diffusion rule, such as the cap on the maximum number of chips that key countries can buy, such as the UAE, such as Saudi Arabia. But they're going to find a way to keep or replace with equivalently strict concerns around physical security of those chips and cybersecurity of those chips to try and stop the smuggling. So the Trump administration is not denying the overall national security risk of China's rise in AI, including AI for national security and military and intelligence applications. But what they're saying is that has to be weighed against the benefits of broad adoption of American technology.
Yeah,
that's a good
point. Poor Tesla out here. Just kidding. Yeah, I mean, everyone's being. It seems like NVIDIA's also going to beat. So, all right, we got one more video, and then we'll jump topics. All right, we got Bloomberg, different opinion.
All right, Doug. I mean, the numbers themselves are almost inconsequential. Phenomenal revenue growth, phenomenal profitability. When you look at going forward, the release of these new Blackwell chips, and of course, the broader adoption of AI itself, NVIDIA, in your view, remains on top.
It does. And I mean, remain to the point of using AI and AI transforming everything in the world. We use AI at Intelligent Alpha to do our portfolio management. So our AI systems really believe in what's coming from AI, and they think NVIDIA is the best way to play that wave. And I don't blame them. You know, you look at sort of everything we heard from the hyperscalers over the past quarter. Everyone to a T said that they are continuing to spend on CapEx. Meta increased their CapEx guidance. So coming into the quarter tomorrow for NVIDIA, you have to feel pretty confident that the numbers are going to be at least okay. And then on top of that, I think you have some of this optionality with, can they maybe get back into China with some recent reports? And that might help the stock continue to work from here.
Yeah, I am curious about that. And we should point out the estimates, at least the Bloomberg consensus estimate, $43 billion in revenue for the quarter, adjusted gross margin at 71%. And of course, they have released those new Blackwell chips, but a lot of questions concerned about whether they can actually get back into China with those other chips here. Do you have any expectation that some sort of a deal will be worked out with the Trump administration to allow this?
I certainly don't think we'll get much of a sense for that tomorrow. I mean, obviously, the real, I think, catalyst for this is not can NVIDIA build alternative chips. Reports from yesterday suggest they've already sort of done that. The question really is, will this administration sort of lighten the export controls that they have on those chips and just allow them to sell them into China? To put it in perspective, I think when they were disallowed from selling the H20 chips that they used to sell, they wrote down $5.5 billion worth of those chips just a month ago. It was probably about a $15 billion annualized hit to revenue or so. So it's still a really big opportunity for them. And even if they're coming back to the market in a smaller way, potentially with these new chips, you might still have kind of a $10 billion kind of upside. I do think we'll find a way that NVIDIA will be back in China, but my guess is it takes a couple of months before it happens.
So, and we're talking $15 billion. That was, I think, the 2026 sales projection, the $15 billion hit here. And that's just on the H2O restrictions, right? That doesn't take into account anything else?
That's correct. It was really focused on those H20 chips that were
called it H2O?
Officially sort of banned, and then they wrote them down as a consequence.
So where do we stand right now with the GB300s? Is that still part of the discussion as well?
I don't know that those are going to be part of the discussion, because it sounds like really what's happening is they're sort of taking the overall Blackwell architecture, and what's coming out of their new sort of, cut down version of that will replace potentially this H20. It may even be lower powered than what they were previously in market with. And so I wouldn't really comp it necessarily to some of the things that they're selling in the US in terms of the GB, the Grace Blackwell chips, that are sort of built in for data centers to just be installed. I think they'll probably look something different than that. And some of the reports we've seen have talked about kind of a $6,000 to $8,000 potential sales price. That kind of gives you a sense, and you're comping that against $40,000 a chip for stuff in the U.S. It is going to be significantly different.
Cheap.
There's been a lot of talk as to how long NVIDIA can keep this going with regards to the sort of relentless demand for their chips. We just, of course, last week had a deal announced with regards to Oracle. There was whatever that deal was struck over there in the Middle East during Trump's visit there here. At some point, this growth has to slow down, right, Doug? I mean, I know there's an addressable market here that's pretty vast right now, but at some point they're going to hit that limit. When do you start to get worried about that?
I think it can probably last longer than many investors think. And if you look at the street numbers, we're kind of getting into that sort of mid-teens kind of growth into next year off of obviously the last year where we've grown well over 100%. So I think some of that is already baked into numbers to some degree. But I think you have to go back to some of the commentary we keep hearing from these hyperscalers. Meta has said it, Google has said it, OpenAI has said it. They've all mentioned that demand for them is really off the charts. And in many cases, they're not able to serve all the demand that they're getting from customers right now. And so I think you're going to continue to see them needing to build new data centers, more data centers focused on inference, so really delivering on those demand queries from users. And I think that could give a longer tail to this NVIDIA tailwind than most investors are probably thinking.
With regards to inference, and there's been a lot of talk about this idea that what it takes to sort of build up these systems, these large language models, requires a level of computing power that is much higher than what it takes effectively to maintain them, at least when we're talking about inference here. How does that factor into your outlook for NVIDIA? Does that mean a drop in revenue? Does that mean, is there a refresh cycle that maybe they can capitalize on? How do they fit into all that?
Not necessarily a drop in revenue.
A refresh cycle is definitely a thing, but that's usually I think it's around like 3 to 5 years. We got a while for a refresh cycle. I think Corey said that, or Amazon said that every 5 years or something, they write off kind of the past generation's chips, and like after that, that's kind of like when it's cycle time. But we got to wow.
I think there's a couple ways you can think about that. You know, in some cases, right, chips that you were previously using for training, you might repurpose them for other use cases, and some of those use cases may include inference.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's inference takes less compute than training. So that makes sense. A good transition.
You may build inference dedicated stacks and data centers. And so it kind of all, I think, fits together in the general guise of there's just this huge demand for additional compute. Once the training is done, right, that is sort of a discrete time-bound activity, whether you're building a new model, then you have the ongoing and persistently growing demand for using that model, and that's really where the inference comes in. And so I think it's something where you can have those training dedicated clusters, but then you need to make sure you have enough on the other side to support inference beyond just having stuff that's training that's repurposed.
Yeah. Yep. All right. We got a good idea, though. I mean, it's definitely looking up, hopefully. I think they're at least gonna hit it. At least meet. We got live updates, although nothing's really happened yet, so 3 seconds can move with NVIDIA, Supermicro. Broadcom. Energy companies, that's interesting. Digital reality, this is a data center, yeah. Interesting. All right. Let's talk about Meta now. We got NVIDIA earnings. Again, we won't be covering them on stream, but we'll look at them tomorrow. First thing. All right. We got Zuck. So let me make sure. This is the 27th. This was the 26th. Let's cover it in order, and then we'll talk about the antitrust case. But Meta has had a bit of a run for talent run, bank run. Meta's Llama AI team has been bleeding talent. Many top researchers have joined French AI startup Mistral. Now, you may think, why wouldn't they go to OpenAI or Anthropic or Google or Microsoft? Which I'm sure some have, but Llama is an open source model. Mistral's really the only other large open source kind of like frontier lab. So it makes sense that their Meta's Llama AI team is going to Mistral instead of the other big tech companies, likely because they probably believe more in the openness of the models, which Mistral is more on the forefront there. And Mistral actually launched some new stuff. We might take a look at it later. They launched like some like agent, like an agent API. Yeah, more connections. What the heck? Wait, is this built in? Postgres? That's cool. I'm honestly just waiting for more MCP integrations. Claude has it on their desktop, but if whoever puts MCP integration into their web app somehow, like, they're gonna win over all the enthusiasts. I like ChatGPT more as a like their catalog of models. Like, I really like, that's kind of really what it's been keeping me there. Like, I like just having it, have 03, swap between like 03 and 4.1 or 4.0. Even 4.5, I really like 4.5 for ideation and helping me brainstorm and like talking out my ideas. And I do think that like I enjoy the models more than the actual platform themselves. But Claude is cool, and I really enjoy Claude too. But and their desktop application does support MCP, and like that is a big thing for me. Especially, I've been using MCP a lot more for coding and such, and that is where like we're gonna start seeing the crazy AI stuff. Like, I'm very bullish on MCP. And I think once some more technical barriers are removed to get MCP up and running, that a lot more people have access to more powerful AI. Maybe I'll do a demo one day about like I could use MCP. Anyways, Llama's AI team's moving to other open source AI companies. Well, they literally... I don't know how you feel about this. This is kind of weird, like listing like names and like... I don't know, this is a little weird. But, okay, we'll at least read this. Meta's open source Llama models helped define the company's AI strategy, yet the researchers who built the original version have mostly moved on. Of the 14 authors credited in the landmark 2023 paper that introduced Llama to the world, just 3 still work at Meta. Research scientist Hugo Torvon, research engineer, and technical program leader. The rest have left the company, many of them to join or found its emerging rivals. To be fair though, this is like not Meta. This isn't exclusive to Meta. I mean, OpenAI's had so many. AI talent is a much larger topic and problem. There's been rumors that Google's literally just paying like researchers and like AI talent to do nothing just to keep them from going to competitors like OpenAI or Anthropic. There's been a lot. There's a lot of back and forth between talent swapping between OpenAI and Anthropic, and including people leaving and starting their own companies at all the companies. You know, like I feel like that's not really exclusive to Meta. And like I don't know. Also, I'm just Google paying people to do nothing is like Hooli. It's like in Silicon Valley show Hooli, where it's like the guys on the roof, you know, the big head, where he's just like, he just needs to ride out, you know, his stock. He just wants to wait until his stocks mature, and then he could kind of quit. But he just gets paid to do nothing, is hang out. Like that's literally like what it's. That's like what it is with Google paying all these the AI talent to do nothing. But yeah, I don't know. I guess I don't think this is exclusive to the Meta. Maybe they've had the biggest problem though, like the biggest talent run. Meta's brain drain. That's a better word. Meta's brain drain is the most visible at Mistral, the Paris-based startup co-founded by former Meta researchers. I can't say these names. Llama, Lampel, and Timothy LaCroix. I know this. I don't have a LaCroix with me, but 2 of Llama's key architects, alongside several fellow Meta alums, they're building powerful open source models that directly compete with Meta's flagship AI efforts. And notably, Mistral is European. The exits over time raise questions about Meta's ability to retain top AI talent, just as it faces a new wave of external and internal pressure. The company is delaying its largest ever AI model behemoth after internal concerns about its performance and leadership. The Wall Street Journal reported Llama 4, Meta's latest release, received a lukewarm reception from developers, many of whom now look to faster-moving open-source rivals like DeepSeek and Qwen for cutting-edge capabilities. More so, I've used Llama 4, Maverick, and Scout, and they don't compare to, in terms of cost and then actual execution, like the AI model doing the thing. They don't compare it to something like Gemini 2.5, Oath, like really any of OpenAI's models. And I know that it's hard to like Llama's open source, quote unquote, and the closed source alternatives will likely always have the advantage. But if I'm paying for a cloud provider, if I'm paying to use it, you know, Llama from a cloud provider like OpenRouter, you know, or whoever they decide, I want the best model for the cheapest price. Llama 4, Scout, and Maverick are comparable in price to many other better closed source alternatives that just perform better. So I don't know. It's kind of hard, I guess, when it's just like, if you value the openness, then I'm sure that this is better. But if you just value actual like execution and it doing better, then it probably takes more tweaking. But at that point, it's like, why not just use a model that just does better off rip? Inside Meta, the research team has also seen a shakeup. Joelle Pinu, who led the company's fundamental AI research group for 8 years, announced last month that she would step down. She'll be replaced by Robert Fergus, who co-founded FAIR in 2014 and then spent 5 years at Google DeepMind before rejoining Meta this month. That's crazy. It's like, oh, let me just go. I'll just get all Google's secrets, AI secrets, and then like just go back to Meta. Like, I wonder how that works. Like, it's like there's no way that it's like they're like, oh, I can't say it. Like, this is what Google, like, I can't say what they're doing. It's like, no, they're going in and fucking leaking everything. I guarantee. The leadership reshuffle follows a period of quiet attrition. Many of the researchers behind Llama's initial success have left FAIR since publishing their landmark paper, even as Meta continues to position the model family as central to its AI strategy. With so many of its original architects gone and rivals moving faster in open source innovation, Meta now faces the challenge of defending its early lead without the team that built it. Yeah, I mean, that's fine, though. I mean, they could... I'm sure it's hard, but, like, they could do it. That's particularly significant because the 2023 Llama paper was more than just a technical milestone. It helped legitimize open weight. Yeah, open weight. That's why when I say open source AI models, I always do air quotes, because it's like, technically it's only open weight. Like, it's not like, we don't have the training data and like all that kind of stuff. So it's like, it's not open source in the more traditional sense. It helped legitimize open weight large language models and that's how most other like open source models, they're just open weight. It helped legitimize open weight large language models with underlying code and parameters that are freely available to others to use, modify, and build on as viable alternatives to proprietary systems at the time, like OpenAI's GPT-3 and Google's Palm. Meta trained its models using only publicly available data and optimized for efficiency. Publicly available data, as well as pirating 80 terabytes of copyrighted books from zlib. So, take that with that as you will. Enabling researchers and developers to run state-of-the-art systems on a single GPU chip. For example, Meta looked like it could leave the open frontier. I still think that they are definitely like up there. I tried like the early Qwen models, but DeepSeek is still good. But again, like these are models that you can't talk about certain things. It's like kind of, they're like censored and all, like there's like other nuances to it than just being like better on benchmarks. And I also hate benchmarks I hate that that's like the way that we've had to measure how it's good or not. And the benchmarks are getting to saturation at this point, so it's like, I don't know. 2 years later, that lead has slipped, and Meta no longer sets the pace. Despite investing billions into AI, Meta still doesn't have a dedicated reasoning model, one built specifically to handle tasks that require multi-step thinking, problem solving, or calling external tools to complete complex tasks. Complex commands. The gap has grown more noticeable as other companies like Google and OpenAI prioritize these features in their latest models. The average tenure of the 11 departed authors at Meta was over 5 years. Wow. Suggesting they weren't short-term hires, but researchers deeply embedded in Meta's AI efforts. Some left as early as January 2023, others stayed through the Llama 3 cycle, and a few left as recent as this year. Together, their exits mark a quiet unraveling of the team that helped Meta stake its AI reputation on open models. Meta spokesperson pointed to an X post about Llama research paper authors who have left. What? A Meta spokesperson pointed to an X post. That's like, okay, wow. Anywhere that like 80% of the Llama 4 team, Meta's resigned. This is not accurate. The Wall Street Journal article yesterday was referring to the researchers who published the initial Llama research paper, not the team that shipped all the subsequent Llama models. Interesting. And who's this? Comms. So this is like this is like PR, bro. Meta's first version of Llama was produced by its fundamental AI research team, which largely consists of academics, researchers with doctorate degrees. The team will release the models and a research paper explaining. Yeah. And yeah, this kind of Meta Llama drain has kind of been an ongoing thing. It's kind of been like a slow bleed over the last like 2 weeks. Okay. So now we got this was Monday, and this was yesterday. But it seems like now Meta's being more intentional. Like this is like more like reporting on like observations. This seems to be more direct. Now that Meta's like openly restructuring their team. Meta shuffles AI team to compete with OpenAI and Google. Meta's restructuring its and also I wonder if I wonder if they Meta's ever what should I say? Would they ever make a closed source model alongside the like Llama series of open models? I guess though it's like why? Like what would even be the point? Just use the open models or make them better. I also think if they did, I feel like thinking or reasoning isn't a priority, because if these are local models, like the reasoning, it would take so long for any like Meta. It takes so long just because of like how low of a tokens per second you likely can run. Like you could run a model on your local computer, that it would just take so long for any answer about reasoning. You know. Like it'd be like minutes for simple answers. And even on like my computer, I only have a 3080, but I have like 32 gigabytes of RAM. I have like a 558, 5900X AMD. Like it's dated now, but like it's still like reasonable, and it's rough. Like even running like a Llama 3.2 or some shit, like lower. Like even like quantized models, like it's so slow is the point. So adding reasoning onto that now, it's like it'll just make it even slower. I guess it will likely increase the accuracy, but that's a payoff. Anyways, Meta shuffles AI team to compete with OpenAI and Google. Meta's restructuring its AI teams to speed up the rollout of new products and features, Axios has learned. Meta faces stiff competition by the AI race, including from OpenAI and Google, as well as Chinese rivals such as TikTok parent ByteDance. Yeah. Although, like, there is something to say about, because Meta's using their models in like other ways besides like consumer facing uses. Like Meta's using theirs like behind the scenes for like advertising optimization and shit like that. So like I don't like Meta could be getting more value out of the model itself internally than it may be like outward facing. So like I again, I think there's some argument there. I feel like I've been defending Meta a lot. I don't really know why, but like sometimes I do feel like people aren't really like, I don't know. I guess I just don't see it as a huge deal. In the internal memo sent Tuesday and seen by Axios, Chief Product Officer Chris Cox laid out the new structure, which will see efforts divided into two teams: an AI products team led by Connor Hayes and an AGI Foundations unit co-led by Ahmed Aldal and Amir Frenkel. Okay, that's interesting. A products team is good because at this point you should be making more products out of the models. That is, that's what we saw at Google I/O, Microsoft Build. It's you know, they're showing off all their products they've made with the models. Again, Meta is using theirs behind the scenes for more internal products, it seems like, with like advertising. But considering that they arguably have one of the largest consumer brands, you know, in reach in terms of platform, like they are definitely not taking advantage of that. You know, adding like the little like Meta like thing, like chat in like Instagram and stuff, like that's like low effort, you know. That's just a chat box and you could just ask it shit. Like that's low effort. You gotta create more value, solve a little bit more problems than that. Yeah. The AI products team will be responsible for the Meta AI assistant. Got it. There we go. In Meta's AI Studio and AI features within Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp. All right. Yeah, this is exactly what they need. The AGI Foundations unit will cover a range of technologies, including the company's Llama models, as well as efforts to improve capabilities in reasoning, multimedia, and voice. Voice is also another big one, because that should be... If OpenAI's device they're making is voice-related, then that's likely going to drive a lot of demand for voice on all AI products, not just OpenAI. And the voice products is kind of underrated. I've been using it more, like speaking, and it is very convenient. The company's AI research unit, known as FAIR, Fundamental AI Research, remains separate from the new organizational structure. And we kind of saw FAIR in here, and that's where it seems like the brain drain was. Yeah. The research team also seemed shaken up. Though one specific team working on multimedia is moving to the new AGI Foundations team. No executives are leaving as part of the changes, nor are any jobs being cut, though the company has moved in some leaders from other parts of the company. Meta hopes that splitting a single large organization into smaller teams will speed product development and give the company more flexibility as it adds additional technical leaders. I don't know about like organizational structure, but smaller teams I think are generally better because you can move faster, because there's less people to consult, less opinions to consider, less bureaucracy. So like overall, it seems like pretty straightforward. Seems good. The company is also seeing key talent depart, including to French rival Mistral, as reported by Business Insider, which you just took a look at. Our new structure aims to give each org more ownership while minimizing but making explicit team dependencies, Cox said in the demo. Meta reshuffled its AI teams in 2023 with a similar goal of speeding its efforts. All right. Yeah, we'll see. I think that they'll figure it out. You know, Zuck is a good... I think he's like a good like wartime CEO. There's been talks about like the peacetime CEO and wartime CEO. I think Zuck could I think he'll ride this out. Also, I feel like my camera's been off because I adjusted it a little. And then speaking of wartime, Meta has been being sued by the FTC about antitrust issues regarding Instagram and WhatsApp. The arguments were that Instagram has a monopoly on like personal family I don't even know. It was like let's see if it's like I'm on Meta's side, I guess. Not necessarily on their side. I just think the government's argument is very weak, and it seems very politically driven, and I just don't think that's a good look right now. And I don't think it bodes well for other antitrust cases potentially. Yeah, the buy or bury. Really, what's up, Ketchup? The government, because they said that they have a monopoly on essentially like I can't remember what the term was. It was like I can't remember exactly, but they theorized that Meta bought Instagram instead of competing with them but this is back in like 2014 or something. And it was also the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission in America, approved that purchase way back. And the biggest argument, though, I think that they need to figure out is that the actual market definition was weak, and that's where I think that Meta could win, is that the market definition in terms of like who Instagram competes with did not include TikTok or YouTube. And like short form video is the like Reels or whatever is like the largest, to me it's like the most popular portion of Instagram. And you can't deny that also competes with TikTok and YouTube. And they said that they're not even in the same market. And Zuckerberg actually testified himself, which is a big deal. And then WhatsApp as well. They think that is instead of, there's like the buy or bury. So like they bought them instead of competing. So, and also Judge Boasberg is, and this is why this case is like also crazy. Like Boasberg does not like Trump. He's, and he also doesn't like big tech. So it's like, I don't know. Anyways, let's read here. This was this might have been a yesterday article. Yeah, this was yesterday. A trial representing the most consequential challenges to Meta's power online concluded on Tuesday, putting the future of the social networking giant into the hands of a federal judge. The case, Federal Commission v. Meta Platforms, wrapped up after 6 weeks of testimony from 38 witnesses at the U.S. District Court for the District of Columbia. Yeah, these witnesses, there were some interesting testimony. I think notably from Facebook executives kind of agreeing that at the time they did want to acquire Instagram because they saw them growing and potentially competing with Facebook. Yet the FTC still approved the acquisition way back when. I think that the fact that the FTC, back when the original acquisition took place, bought it or approved it, it's kind of like now they're going and saying like, okay, actually we didn't approve it. It's like, okay, well I'm like, it's too late, It's like, I don't know. They included Meta's chief executive, Mark Zuckerberg, who was grilled by government lawyers accusing him of acquiring Instagram and WhatsApp in a buy or bury strategy to cement his company's social networking monopoly. Meta defends itself by saying that it faces plenty of competition from rivals, including TikTok and YouTube, and that it benefited from the nascent apps without bountiful resources. And I kind of agree with this is the market definition. Now, both sides will have a chance to file follow-up briefings this summer. Judge James E. Boasberg, who's presiding over the case, said he will work expeditiously to issue an opinion on whether Meta broke the law. He is not expected to hold closing arguments. Interesting. Judge Boasberg will consider the government's accusation that Meta, which was known as Facebook at the time, overpaid when it bought Instagram in 2012 for $1 billion and WhatsApp in 2014 for $19 billion to kill off its competitors. The government has argued that Meta violated Section 2 of the 135-year-old Sherman Antitrust Act, a federal law that prohibits the monopolization of an industry through anti-competitive practices. Yeah. They may have a monopoly in some aspects, but I just think that the government's argument is weak, and I don't think that they should just get off. I don't think the government should just be able to put these weak arguments and then win. I think that they should put effort and actually, talk more about the I don't know. I guess I think if even if they do have a monopoly, but the government's argument is weak, then that's the government's fault. Like, you know, put more effort into making a stronger case, or just like don't, you know, sue if you don't have a strong case. Like, I don't know. The judge's decision has potential to reshape Meta's powerful social networking business, which has helped define the social media landscape since Mr. Zuckerberg co-founded Facebook in his Harvard dorm room in 2004. The FTC has preemptively asked the judge to force Meta to divest Instagram and WhatsApp, and if successful, that request could fundamentally alter the power dynamics in Silicon Valley. Because who is then, what is Meta left with after Instagram and WhatsApp? Like Facebook? Threads? Or is Threads a part of Instagram? like that's like, I don't know. It's like, what, like there's, yeah. I think WhatsApp is a bigger hit than Instagram though, because WhatsApp has much more of an international user base, and WhatsApp people use for more than just like social networking. Like it's like communication app. It's like Discord, you know, like people run businesses over WhatsApp. Like WhatsApp, I guess Instagram too, but maybe Instagram though makes Facebook more money because of advertising. I'm not sure. Oh, we did look at Meta's earnings, but I don't exactly remember. I also don't think they break it out by social media platform. The centerpiece of the government's case was a trove of more than 400 internal documents in which Mr. Zuckerberg and other executives discussed their anxiety over competition from Instagram and WhatsApp and their reasoning for buying them. Judge Boasberg has said the key question he must answer is how to define the social media networking, which has changed rapidly over the past decade as platforms have branched out into entertainment, gaming, and commerce. Yeah, the market definition is usually the biggest contention, and in this case it is. And I think that's where Meta could win. FTC has tried to define the market narrowly, yeah, saying Meta competes only with other apps that connect friends and family, mainly Snapchat. Yeah, and this is what I was talking about. This is what they did. The market, they said that Meta competes with is only Snapchat and some random social media company called Mayway or MeWe. And that's it. Like, I've never heard of this. It's literally like, you know, 20 million people. Meta has 3 billion people. You know, it's like, yeah, Meta contends that users primarily visit Facebook and Instagram to scroll short-form videos for entertainment, making TikTok, YouTube, and other rivals. Yeah, it's not to deny that people don't use Instagram personally, but it still is also competing with TikTok and YouTube too. Mayway famous in China? Ah, okay. Interesting. MeWe. Yeah, I've not heard of it besides this case. But yeah, exactly. And I'll just say, like, yeah, it's like not like, and so if that's the case, then it's like, then it doesn't even really matter here, I guess. Like, yeah, exactly. So it's like, I don't know. I think the market argument is weak by the government. This case presents a very important legal principle, which is that a firm that is monopolistic cannot acquire its most threatening competitors. I agree with that. A senior FTC official said in a press call last week, antitrust law requires competition on the merits, even in digital markets, and it's competition on the merits that drives innovation, ultimately helps consumers. Also, the other argument that they were saying is that if Instagram wasn't acquired by Facebook, that it would be better for consumers. Or Instagram is acquired by Meta, it'd be better for consumers. I think that it would be exactly the same, because there's like, oh, they'll be more private, but it's like, no, Instagram would go down the exact same business model route as every other social media platform of selling ads and collecting user information. There'd be zero difference there for consumers. Either that, or Instagram would just go out of business or be acquired. So at that point, it's like, I don't know. I just think this case is not that strong. A senior FTC official said in a press call last week, antitrust law requires competition on the merits. Literally drives innovation, ultimately helps consumers. A Meta spokesperson said in a statement that the only thing the FTC showed was the dynamic, hyper-competitive nature of the past, present, and future of the technology industry. All right. Judge Rosenberg's decision could have profound implications for the business world. If the FTC prevails, it will send a message to businesses that they will face more scrutiny from regulators when acquiring startups. People don't even realize the fact that Insta is really owned by Meta. Yeah. No, exactly. Yeah, it would just go. Totally. I think it would just go down the same route too. Be the same. This could have a chilling effect on large players trying to acquire new talent or companies. That said Jennifer Huddleston, a senior fellow at the Cato Institute, a think tank. I think the Cato Institute is also like libertarian or something. So, I mean, that's something to keep in mind. Yeah, libertarian think tank, so. Legal experts say the FTC's case will be hard to win because it seeks to unwind mergers from a year ago, which regulators approved at the time. Yes, that's, again. Meta called only 8 witnesses over 4 days to bat down the government's charges, including Zuckerberg. Meta must feel confident in their arguments, said Shruti, rough name, Thachtakenkuri. I'm sorry, butchered that name. Assistant professor of strategy at Vanderbilt University, Owens Graduate School of Management. It's also very hard to unwind a merger. And that too, especially 10 plus years after the merger. The case filed 5 years ago as part of a years-long effort by government officials to rein in the dominant technology companies. Department of Justice has won 2 antitrust cases against Google and has sued Apple on claims it illegally quashed competition in the App Store. In addition, the FTC is suing Amazon, accusing it of harming competition by giving its own products and services preference over third-party sellers on its platform. Yeah, and Google's kind of having the same problem too. Yeah, so this case is, I don't know. I think that it's, again, I think that the government's argument's weak. Not even that Meta is correct, but I just think that the market argument the government's pushing is weak. So we'll see on this. Zuckerberg's going through a lot right now, especially with all their AI team shakeup, and now maybe on the ends of this. But it seems like, though, they're not, like, worried, maybe. I don't know. So yeah, interesting saga to continue. When this judgment comes out, we'll definitely cover it here on stream. So all right, we got just a few Apple quickies, and then we'll talk about some stable coins. I feel like there should be a whole ass section for tech part in the government. For tech, yeah, totally. We do have like some like smaller departments, but I think as it's becoming much more and more bigger, like, yeah, I think like a dedicated department like wouldn't be bad. The problem is with the American government is it's more so about who regulates who versus like the like category. So like the Federal Trade Commission just regulates antitrust, so in turn they just have to take on like technology cases. So it's like it kind of sucks that way. Yeah, but I mean, I think you'd think that, especially like, you know, with today's times, that we'd invest more as a government, you know, in governments about having specific technology departments that focus more on like the industry as a whole. But whatever, that's Congress's problem. Do you have one, or does like India's government have like dedicated technology section? All right, then we got here. This is interesting. You just got cyber law? Oh, okay. Is that like that's like the law online? Apple acquires video game studio behind hit arcade title Sneaky Sasquatch. Now, the actual title not the diminish Rack 7 looks like their name is, but more so this is just a strategic, this is Apple getting into a new industry in a way. No, it doesn't have one. Okay. Dang. Maybe we should actually cover this first, because report Apple iOS 19 to include new app dedicated to gaming. Like, Android has had like a dedicated gaming center forever. And is it even useful? Like, do people use that app? Genuinely asking, like, regularly. In the United States, I think mobile gaming is just not as big as it is in, like, definitely Asia. I don't really know about the EU or Europe, but mobile gaming is just not that big in the United States. Will Apple make a return on investment of them making a dedicated gaming app? Like, they have Apple Arcade, which is a subscription, I'm pretty sure. Now that they bought a studio, this is particular. If we look at other big tech companies, let's think about literally every big tech company, even Netflix owns game studios. I'm pretty sure Amazon has several. They have their own They have their own gaming engine that is a fork of the Cry engine. Yeah, like a game launcher. That's what I'm seeming it seems like. Yeah, Samsung has one. Yeah, like Android has had one. But like every big tech company has a game studio, including Netflix. Amazon has Lumberyard, which is a game engine that is, I'm pretty sure, is based off the Cry engine. I think they acquired the Cry engine. Microsoft has Xbox, which Microsoft's huge in gaming. They own Bethesda, ZeniMax Studios. They own Obsidian. They own a bunch of large game studios. Let's see what Google. What game studios does Google own? Google, remember Google Stadia? Yeah, literally Google Stadia. That's the first thing that comes up. It's crazy that Google Stadia was such a big initiative and it's just gone. But Google bought us. Let's see, actually. Yeah. I'm pretty sure Google bought game studios. Yeah, OMG nostalgia. Anyways, regardless, they had a game endeavor. Microsoft owns game studios. Amazon owns studios, makes games. Netflix has several and is pushing studios. So just for the fact of competition, this is particular. But I also think it's Apple diversifying more into the services, the software side. And we can't forget about the Digital Market Act, the DMA, Digital Markets Act in the EU, and now in the United States, where you could essentially launch a third-party app store, at least in the EU. You can launch a third-party app store, and I think with the launch of Epic Games launching their own dedicated store, there's been talks of other dedicated stores. I think Apple now wants to get ahead of that and push a dedicated gaming kind of like store, something similar to, again, compete with that now on their own platform with these other third-party stores that'll be pushing their apps in other games to the iOS. And we'll probably WWDC is June something, which we'll be watching on stream, Apple's developer conference. I think we'll definitely see more there, but this is all very strategic, and it's a interesting time for Apple because of they're kind of being attacked from all fronts, similar to a lot of big tech companies right now. And I think the EU just launched a 500 million euro fine towards Apple about complying with certain App Store policies, and that they're gonna start periodically finding them if they don't update the App Store by the end of July or something. Google had Stadia, which was their own studio. Okay, got it. So yeah, all big tech companies now are getting into gaming, including Apple. So let's read now. So we'll read about the app first. Last October, 9to5Mac exclusively reported that Apple is developing a dedicated app for video games that would exist separately from the App Store. Bloomberg now has corroborated that the report says the app will launch as part of the iOS 19 later this year. Yeah, and this was Mark Gurman, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, and he's like an Apple analyst. He has all the leaks. So a trusted source is the point. Today's report from Bloomberg aligns with our original report on many of the app's features. The app will serve as a central place for things like achievements, leaderboards, and more, and serve as a replacement for Game Center. Okay. Is Game Center in the App Store? It'll also highlight App Store content as well as integration with Apple Arcade. Yeah, and this is where I feel like the big push is Apple Arcade. Because I'm pretty sure there's a subscription you could pay for Apple Arcade. Yeah, I was like, I don't know what this app is. It's a game. The report adds that the gaming app will also come to the Mac with the ability to tap into games downloaded outside the App Store. Ooh, see, this seems like outside the App Store is like a hint at the kind of the Epic Games, third-party App Store or something. But I guess that's on the Mac. And maybe I think it was the last WWDC, Apple, or maybe the one before that, they really pushed like their metal like GPU like kind of SDK or API or whatever. I can't exactly remember, but it was regarding gaming. They were trying to push gaming on the Mac. They had I think they had a Hideo Kojima or something present it. So interesting now on the Mac, this is also exist. Here's some additional details from the app from our October report. According to our sources, the app will also have multiple tabs, including a Play Now tab, a tab for the user's games, friends, and more. Play Now users will find editorial content and game suggestions. In other words, ads, Apple advertising. That is exactly what this is. The app will also show things like challenges and leaderboards and achievements. Games from both the App Store and Apple Arcade will be featured in the new store. Apple also promotes special gaming events and information about important updates. In addition, Apple is reportedly experimenting with some kind of integration with FaceTime and iMessage. Okay. In its new gaming app, possibly to help players communicate with each other. The company is also exploring letting developers provide mini games based on app clips. Don't know what that means. They're pointing at Fortnite since Fortnite came. Yep, exactly. Yep, Epic Games. This is a direct, directly looking at Epic Games here, which is, developers of Fortnite. Just earlier today, it was reported that Apple had acquired, Rack 7, the game studio behind the hit Apple Arcade Sneaky Sasquatch. Apple will announce iOS 19, macOS 16, and more at WWDC next month. The event kicks a keynote on June 9th. Yeah, we'll be watching this June 9th here on stream. Okay, and then how this article ended, we got the acquisition of the studio. Let's actually look at the Rack 7. Apple has acquired companies and developers that make apps on its platform before. Notably Dark Sky, it's a weather app. It's my favorite weather app on Android. And then Apple bought them, and then the app and they removed the app from Android. And I was like, bro, they also removed the app from the App Store, but it's theorized that the technology is now used in the Apple weather app. Which is not bad, but I like Dark Sky a lot as a standalone app. I was a weather app enthusiast for a while. They also bought some Mac OS software, I know photo editing software. There's random other companies like that, so it's nothing new, I guess. But now it's just the first in the games. Here, the iMessage will have features like just saw Discord has like Brady playing Minecraft 8 hours ago. Oh, really? That's kind of cool. Yeah, that's interesting. Like a activities kind of thing. That's interesting. I feel like on the Android Game Center thing, they had that kind of, or maybe that was with this. Maybe that's Discord. You can invite people in it. Oh, okay. Interesting. That's cool. This is like such a simple website too. Oops. Samsung had that? Okay. Yeah, that's where I used it on, the Samsung. Okay, this is their website. This is it. Wow. What is this game even? Didn't they get their own game launcher social? Got it. I feel like I used that previously. I used to play RuneScape on mobile a lot. OSRS, old school RuneScape. Okay, this is the app. Apple made a very interesting acquisition. Per Digital Trends, the company has acquired its first ever video game studio. Rack 7, the two-person studio behind Apple Arcade hit Sneaky Sasquatch, has officially joined Apple. Rack 7's two-person team joins Apple in a unique acquisition. Apple Arcade is home to a variety of titles from big and small game studios, but now Rack 7, I hope I'm saying this name right. The small company behind Sneaky Sasquatch has become a first-party Apple property. I also wouldn't be surprised if Apple buys a lot of like smaller studios that make like a single game like this, because they could probably, it's probably very cheap. It could be like they could acquire the talent, assuming that's like what they want. They could keep making games, smaller games like this that are still high quality. It doesn't cost that much out of Apple's pocket. They kind of lock down the exclusivity. You know, there could be pros and cons. Also, this looks like Curious George. Like, this looks like the Curious George monkey, and this is like the dude with the yellow hat and the handler. I don't know if anyone remembers that, but... Sneaky Sasquatch is an Apple Arcade Game of the Year winner and launched exclusively on the service back in 2019. True. It is... Now its team is officially part of Apple. Per the Digital Trends article, we love Sneaky Sasquatch and are excited that the two-person Rack 7 team has joined Apple to continue their work on it with us. An Apple spokesperson tells Digital Trends, we will continue to deliver a great experience for Apple Arcade players with hundreds of games from many of the best game developers in the world. Alright, it's an extremely unusual move for Apple. Not only is this its first video game studio acquisition, but the statement implies Rack 7's team has been acquired to continue their work on Sneaky Sasquatch. Yeah. Could other new studios be acquired by Apple next as a way to bolster Apple Arcade? Absolutely. It's hard to say, but it seems Apple's signaling that this was a unique situation. Okay. Yeah, okay, let's read this. I don't know why then they would acquire this. The acquisition doesn't necessarily signal the beginning of a new gaming strategy for the tech giant. Apple notes that the move is unique circumstance as it saw an opportunity to help the team grow its game more on Apple Arcade. It says that it will continue to work with third-party studios, big and small, to create games for the service. I don't know, because like it's like paired with this news, it's hard to think that this was just in isolation. Even if Apple doesn't want other indies to get their hopes up, the precedent has nonetheless been set. If you're a small studio who has hit on Apple Arcade, it may just get you acquired by Apple. Apple Arcade is available as a standalone service for $7 a month, or including the Apple One bundle. Includes access to over 200 games with no ads or in-app purchases. Yeah, and this is what Apple wants to push, if I had to guess. Part of the reason why they would launch an app like this. They really need to push the service business. Alright, Apple's been in the news a lot this past week. There's been a lot of Apple news too outside of these. We covered this here yesterday, but yeah, there's been a lot. Alright, those are the main stories I have. I do have some more stablecoin news, some crypto news actually. Be right back. I'm gonna turn my AC on. It's getting hot. Circle's IPOing, it seems like for sure now. And I wish I could get in on IPO because I do think I'm gonna buy if Circle does IPO. I need to look at their S2, but I would look into actually purchasing them because I see a future for stable coins much more than I do like traditional crypto. Person who got kidnapped for investing in crypto. I've seen like news of just like how crypto kidnappings are increasing. That's crazy though. Like it's yeah. People want Bitcoin. That's crazy how people are getting kidnapped. But stablecoins I see have a future in AI, specifically AI agents. CopyZilla covered it. Oh, okay, I like CopyZilla. I'll have to watch it. Stablecoins have a future with AI agents. Potentially. And I do see if AI is gonna start using stablecoins or just crypto in general as a backing for agentic transactions, then I want in Circle having the second most popular stablecoin, USDC, only behind Tether with USDT. I see that being a good combo. Now, the one thing with crypto stocks, hopefully Circle would be outside of that, but I feel like Coinbase, who is also public and is in the S&P 500 now, their price correlates with just like Bitcoin. Like Bitcoin skyrockets, Coinbase goes up. Bitcoin goes down, Coinbase goes down. And to me, that is not it's like you might as well just invest in one or the other. When you have too many correlated assets in your portfolio, that's just looking for a disaster. You generally find more risk averse when you could find assets to invest in that are not correlated at all in terms of price changes. So I'm curious how the stock would perform. But it's also interesting because what one is sooner? This is like on the same day. The way that they're raising money and getting the shares is coming from existing employees. Like they're not like, and it seems like it's kind of like a weird way to distribute stock. And they're targeting a $6 billion valuation. Let's read this one first. So Circle, the issuer of the popular USDC stablecoin, has begun its long-awaited initial public offering process, looking to raise about $624 million at around a $6 billion valuation. Company led by CEO Jeremy Allaire said Thursday in a filing. I want to look at the actual filing because there's a lot of information on there. That it plans to sell 24 million shares of Class A common stock and a total 9.6 million to be sold by the company and another 14.4 million by existing shareholders. An expected price range of $24 to $26 a piece. So this is what they're going to IPO at. Valuing the company at around $5.65 billion. It would have a valuation of about $6.7 billion when including outstanding options and other stock according to Reuters. Kathy Wood, ARK Investment Management, has indicated in ARK, we've looked at reports from ARK about stablecoins. In their ARK Invest 2025 report, they had a big section on stablecoins we looked at. Kathy Wood in ARK is they're very pro crypto, so I mean it's not surprising. But they're like very, very bullish. They're very optimistic on crypto. But Cathie Wood's ARK Investment Management has indicated interest in purchasing up to $150 million of shares per the filing, which is crazy. That's like a significant portion of the $625 million, that they're offering. Circle also said it will grant the underwriters a 30-day option to purchase up to 3.6 million additional shares. Dang. And I think the underwriters, it's kind of like I don't know how it works, but you go to like the banks, and they kind of handle the IPO for you, and in return, that you get like a option to buy like bulk shares like this at the lower IPO cost. It seems like what it is. So like the underwriters could purchase more shares if they want. Shares will also be listed on the New York Stock Exchange under the ticker Circle. Or shares will be listed on the ticker Circle, which is a good ticker. Circle's IPO prospectus was filed with the SEC, Security and Exchange Commission, at the beginning of April. Circle's USD coin has roughly $62 billion in circulation and makes up about 27% of the total market cap for stablecoins behind Tether's 67%. Yes. Tether still has a huge market share, which is crazy that they still have 67%. But I do think Tether is not an American company, and I think that their finances are a little more shady. So the fact Circle sells itself more as like the safe tradition, more not traditional, but a safer, and with taking security and all this first. And I do appreciate that, because I think that is a big issue. I don't trust Tether, So I think that in itself is a big advantage. And it's also more likely that you'd work with traditional financial institutions, which I also think is needed. I talked about that the other day, to bridge the trust gap for crypto, and also to bring it into more, to allow more people to use it that don't want to deal with blockchain and, making another account on some crypto exchange and blah, blah, blah. So anyways, it says its market cap has grown 40% this year. However, compared to Tether's 10% growth. Ooh. The stablecoin sector specifically is began ramping up as the industry gains confidence that the crypto market will get its first piece of U.S. legislation passed and implemented this year, focusing on stablecoins. Last week, the Senate voted to advance the first crypto legislation that would create a regulatory framework for stablecoins. Trump has said he wants to see crypto regulation on his desk ready to be signed by August before Congress goes into recess. Well, I've not heard that, but that's optimistic. They could do it, though. Circle's IPO could have investment implications for Coinbase, a co-founder of USDC. Yes, I've bought USDC on Coinbase before, because they offered interest rates. And that is a big benefit, too, over stablecoins, is they generally, does all of them offer an interest rate that's pretty competitive, better than most checking accounts, and sometimes better than most savings accounts, although that's likely more risky. But yeah, I wonder what the investment implications for Coinbase would be, though. The crypto service company in exchange has a 50% revenue sharing agreement with Circle. Oh shit, and makes up 100% of the interest earned by USDC products on the Coinbase platform. What's in it for Circle? How do they make any money? Maybe they Circle makes the spread, the margin. I don't know is that a good deal for Circle? Sounds like a good deal for Coinbase. Coinbase CEO Brian Armstrong said that Coinbase has a stretch goal to make USDC the #1 stablecoin in the world. Also, though, if you were to invest in Circle, I see this partnership as good because Brian Armstrong is saying that he wants to make Circle the #1 stablecoin in the world, or USDC the #1 stablecoin in the world. So, I mean, that's good for Circle. Although I don't know how much. Yeah. Historically, stablecoins have been primarily for trading as collateral in decentralized finance, DeFi, and crypto investors watch them closely for evidence of demand, liquidity, and activity in the market. More recently, their ability to move dollars quickly and cheaply across borders has become more popular with banks and fintech companies. And me seeing this for AI, I think that once the agentic web starts taking off, and we need a way to compensate content creators and websites for our agents going and using their information or data or visiting their websites without our eyes seeing advertising. Like, there's going to be likely some sort of microtransaction that's going to come from that, and I think stablecoins are the answer to that. Says additionally, rhetoric around the ability to help preserve U.S. dollar dominance by exporting dollar utility internationally and ensuring demand for U.S. government debt. Yeah, which backs nearly all dollar-denominated stablecoins, has grown louder. Yep, and I do think, though, this is a good argument for the stablecoins to also be treated similar to banks, because, you know, you could have a bank run with stablecoins, and that would likely destabilize the price somehow. And so I think that they should still have some sort of percentage of like the issued stablecoins held in like cash or some sort of liquid safe denomination, like no, as in like debt, which is what most of it is backed by. I don't know, but I'm it's not good. Yeah, I'm excited for Circle. Let's look at their S1 though. So the S1, they have to file before you go public, and it kind of shares a bunch of information. Notably though, it shares their risks and also shows competition. It's a little inside info. And you can see the finances here, but I just want to look at the risk. Down. Here we go. Summary of risk factors. Our business and classic common stock are subject to many risks. As more, you see it on screen? Okay, we're good. As more fully described in the risk factors section immediately following this prospectus summary. Okay, I want to go to this. Here we go. We face intense and increasing competition. Let's look at the summary real quick. Competition from new and existing issuers offer competing products combined with the rise of yield-bearing digital assets, including TMMFs, that are attractive to digital asset trading participants, may reduce market demand for circulation of Circle stablecoins. Interesting. What is TMMFs? Crypto? Any crypto bros in chat? Tokenized money market fund. Ah. So this is like a savings account. Tokenized money market funds are digital representations of traditional money market funds on blockchain networks. They offer increased transparency, liquidity, and accessibility to investors, provide low-risk investment alternatives with stable yields. They're widely used in decentralized finance and institutional investment strategies. Regulatory considerations remain a key factor for adoption. Okay, interesting. I'm going to look into this. Oh, Circle issues a TMMF. USYC. They acquired Hashnote. No guarantee that will be successful. US may not gain traction relative to existing TMFFs and new TMFFs. Interesting. Stablecoins may face periods of uncertainty, loss of trust, or systematic shock, resulting in the potential for rapid redemption request runs. Yep, this is what I think one of the big risks is. Yeah, a bank run. Extreme scenarios such as market shocks that affect the value of USDC reserves, or simultaneous requests to redeem all or subsequently all USDC in circulation, or concerns related to Circle stablecoin reserves may lead to redemption delays, USDC reserves being insufficient to meet all redemption requests. And this is the biggest argument, in my opinion, why it should be treated similar to a bank, in that they need to have a certain amount held in reserve. So if a run does happen, they have the money and liquidity to cover it. Okay, I see BlackRock here, so I want to, let's see. Privately issued stablecoins may be subject to the risk of significant and concentrated redemption request, even when they are fully reserved with high-quality liquid assets, such as cash and short-dated U.S. government obligations. If we experience significant and concentrated redemption requests with respect to one or more Circle stablecoins, we may need to liquidate a significant portion of Circle stablecoin reserve assets to meet such request. In extreme cases, the market for the short-dated U.S. government obligations held by the Circle Reserve Fund might not be sufficiently liquid for BlackRock to liquidate them in a way that allows us to meet redemption statements in a timely manner. Oh, wonder why BlackRock specifically. They use Silicon Valley Bank as an example. But those transfers failed to settle before the FTC placed the bank into receivership. Although all of these funds were ultimately made available for transfer to new banks, the concern related to Circle's access to these funds caused USDC to experience a temporary price dislocation on certain secondary trading markets. Wow. Yeah, this is legit. Any negative publicity regarding stablecoins and broader digital asset industry may have outsized negative effects on consumer confidence. Bro, you don't have to worry about this right now. Like, consumer confidence is pretty low regarding crypto, if I had to guess, anyways. So it's only up from here. Let's be real. Could he negatively impact the disruptions in secondary markets? Okay, negative developments regarding including a run on USDT could adversely affect our business. The launch of central bank digital currencies may adversely impact our business. And this is true. They are looking, a consortium of banks, this pretty much the same ones that created Zelle, are also looking to create a stablecoin. And as my friend pointed out on stream to me the other day, SWIFT, which is like the national like banking, some banking protocol group, they're also looking for a stablecoin network to use. I don't know. I think that it's becoming more mainstream, so I think that it's just competition, I guess. Circle stablecoins were classified as securities under U.S. security laws. Only registered broker-dealers would be able to intermediate sales of Circle stablecoins between us and purchasers, which they may be unable to do consistent with their regulatory requirements. Yeah, I don't think this should be considered like a security. More like a bank, though, is how I'm seeing it. Okay. Anyways. They do have to cover everything in these. Some of them are kind of dumb, but it's like you gotta say it anyways. Okay, but yeah, we get an idea. I like just looking at skimming this. It just gives an idea of like maybe what they see as bumps in the road in the future. So let's actually jump to this. We covered Circle. Block's Bitcoin checkout goes live in Vegas. I bought something with crypto the other day, and in my opinion, it still suffers from the same exact problems, not only as traditional finance, but the same problems that it's had, 5+ years ago. And that's the fees. I wanted to top up my credits on OpenRouter.ai, and I saw that they had a crypto option. I was like, oh, that's cool. I haven't bought something with crypto in a long time. Let's give it a try. And I looked and I compared the prices, and the fees for using like Stripe or whatever payment process they use seemed to be more than crypto. And so I was like, cool, I might even save a few cents. That's really all it is. But and it was like it showed like the price was gonna be like 50 cents. Buying it normally was 50 cents. Buying it with crypto was like 40 cents more. So I was like, all right, whatever. But then by the time I actually went to go check out, I paid the network fees on for Bitcoin, I use Coinbase, which I just happen to have Bitcoin and Coinbase. All the fees came out to be more than it would have cost just to pay with my normal credit card. You know, the normal traditional finance system. So I was like, what was even that? Like, there's literally like no benefit to this. And on top of that, Bitcoin could have gone up or down, and like, you know, the value of what I was giving to the company to buy the thing would have, you know, fluctuated, which again is to me a good argument for stable coins. But like, Bitcoin should not be like the currency of the future, just based on how volatile it is. It's like a speculative asset. In a speculative asset, why would you want that as a backing for, you know, holding value? I wouldn't. Like, I consider money I put into Bitcoin as gambling. It's pretty much about that. And like, over the years, it's probably, you know, roll a dice, and like, you've probably, depending on when you bought in, like, that's equivalent of like your investment in Bitcoin. It's continuing to go up and down, you know, but it's all speculative. Tomorrow it could drop, you know, 50K, and like, no one really know why. So I guess this is a good step though. Block is Jack Dorsey's company. They own Cash App, they own Square, they own Square, Cash App, Tidal. I fucking forgot they bought Tidal, the music streaming service that Jay-Z started, that I used for a little bit because I like lossless audio and they had that, but I forgot about that. BitKey, which seems like some sort of crypto wallet. Proto. What is Proto? Bitcoin mining. But it's a chip, seems like, maybe. The block ecosystem. Spiral? I didn't see Spiral down here. Making Bitcoin more than an investment. Bitcoin's the best money. We use like it. We built and fund free open source projects aimed at making Bitcoin the planet's preferred currency. I don't know, like, I just feel like Bitcoin like isn't the best one. The Eye of Satoshi. I love this logo too. Anyways, this is Jack Dorsey's company, the founder of Twitter. But Block's also public, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, Block Inc. Actually have a pretty healthy PE ratio too. Bro, Yahoo Finance is so slow. Anyway, so I think this is still like a good step in terms of just crypto adoption in the mainstream, if nothing else. Jack Dorsey's latest Bitcoin vision is hitting the checkout counter, starting with a merch truck parked just off the casino floor inside the Venetian. That's cool. It's like only Bitcoin accepted. Though more importantly, actually, if anything else, it's that they're integrating it in Square, because many traditional businesses, like traditional as in like non-digital businesses, like brick and mortar businesses, use Square. So I do think that is a good like bridge. Though I wish they accepted other crypto, and I also wonder how you could pay. Like, what app do you need to have on the consumer side to use the Square Bitcoin? Do you have to use like Cash App or some shit? Guess we'll find out. Oh yeah, Bitcoin 2025 is going on right now. I forgot. I saw JD Vance was speaking at it. Maybe tomorrow we'll do some coverage on that after NVIDIA earnings. Square is piloting real-time Bitcoin payments, letting attendees scan and spend crypto for t-shirts, hoodies, and hats at the BTC Inc. pop-up store. This system runs on Lightning, which settles transactions off the main blockchain and is faster and cheaper than traditional processing methods. Okay, is Lightning Network the, that's like Litecoin, right? Lightning Network. When was this, created? Maybe it was, maybe not. Is blockchain era as a, I don't know enough about crypto, honestly. Like the... Okay, here we go. Cash App, it does support it, so you likely do probably have to use Cash App. 10,000 Bitcoin for 2 pieces. So funny. Yeah, so I guess this I was thinking of something else. Oh no, it is Litecoin. The Lightning Torch payment reached notable personalities, including former Twitter, aka ex-CEO Jack Dorsey, Litecoin creator Charlie Lee, Lightning Labs. Okay, so this was what I was thinking. Okay, well, anyways, I like Litecoin. I was a big Litecoin fanboy early on because of the lower fees. I also just liked alternatives that were not just the mainstream thing. And like it was like Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Litecoin were kind of the big three for a while. When customers scan the QR code at checkout, Square handles things behind the scenes, including real-time exchange rates and confirmation. Wait, so can you... I'm confused on how it works. Like, do you just like scan like your normal credit card and then it just buys Bitcoin and then like transfers the Bitcoin to like the company? Like, seems like I need to see how this works. The Tuesday marks the public debut of Block's most ambitious move yet to make Bitcoin everyday money, a pilot that is expected to expand from a Vegas strip to millions of merchants around the world. I just don't understand why you'd want to hold Bitcoin as something that you're going to use to like spend. Like by the time you get to the, go to buy the thing, it could be worth so much less that like, I don't get that. Behind it all is Miles Sutter, a longtime product leader at Block who flew in early to oversee setup with his team. Sutter joined the company in 2017 when Cash App's Bitcoin integration was still a hack week experiment. They needed someone with deep familiarity with the Bitcoin and community, he said, calling himself an early evangelist. 8 years later, he's helping connect the blocks, working across Cash App, Spiral, and BitKey. Ah, I see. Like the blocks are like all the subsidiaries of Block. BitKey and Square to embed Bitcoin in every layer of the company's ecosystem. The Square rollout, he says, is a natural step. Block expects to begin offering Bitcoin payments to eligible Square sellers later this year, with full availability targeted for 2026, pending regulatory approval. I see no reason why they wouldn't approve this, though, especially considering the administration's view towards crypto. The launch comes as Bitcoin trades near all-time highs, a surge driven largely by the digital gold narrative that positions it as a long-term store of value rather than a day-to-day medium of exchange. Yes, I see this. Long-term, yes, but again, the short-term is where it's like volatile. Why would you want to hold why would you want to store your money in something that is fluctuating significantly that you're going to use to spend? Like, you'd want to put it in something that's going to hold, like, you're going to stay stable, i.e. stable coin. At the same time, stablecoin legislation is advancing in Congress, and more fintech giants are aligning behind tokenized dollars. Block is taking a different path, one that centers on Bitcoin. Yeah. Sutter said the company's strategy is rooted in the belief that a decentralized permissionless currency remains critical to the future of the internet, and that Bitcoin is still the best candidate to fill that role. Asked about the lingering perception that Bitcoin is better suited for holding than spending, yes, Sutter pointed to a familiar pattern. When Cash App first introduced Bitcoin trading, he said it was met with hesitation and doubt. But again, somebody's got to be first, he said, and we feel like we have the right DNA to push things forward. Right DNA for what? Is this the store? He called the new Square rollout a really significant milestone and Block's broader mission to make Bitcoin more accessible and usable. The product builds on Square's Bitcoin conversation tool, launched last year, which lets merchants automatically convert a portion of their daily sales into Bitcoin. That's cool, actually. What the heck? Block says it rolled out the feature to more than 1,000 sellers so far. I like that, though. And those who opted in have seen their Bitcoin holdings grow by roughly 70% over the past year. Okay, yeah, but like that's not a that's just timing. Like there's, you know, this latest feature goes a step further, enabling sellers to accept Bitcoin directly at the point of sale. Like I still want to know on the user's end, like what do they have to do to like buy something with Bitcoin? For businesses that don't want to hold Bitcoin, there's no exposure risk. Payments can be instantly converted to dollars. If you just want to have it as another payment method, like Amex, MasterCard, or Visa, Bitcoin is now potentially another option for you, Sutter said. And that's a good way to look at it, I think. You know, if it's the options there, if someone wants to do that and take the risk, then it's just like, sure, I'll accept it. For those that do want to hold it, Block is building out what Sutter calls a Bitcoin for Business stack, a full suite of tools to accept, convert, manage, and self-custody Bitcoin. If you do want to accept it as Bitcoin, he said, we give you a full suite of products to manage that as you see fit. That means being able to convert your daily sales, buy and sell from your US dollar balance into Bitcoin, and withdraw the self-custody at any time. It's about giving our merchants more options and making sure they never miss a sale. I actually think that there's more to the business. I've just been kind of thinking about it while I'm reading. I think there's more to this business though, as a merchant, because you likely could borrow against your Bitcoin. I'm pretty sure you can. Like, and I wouldn't be surprised if Square starts rolling that out. So it's like you could put your Bitcoin up as collateral for loans. Like to get as a business. That seems like a good selling point for a business. Like if I was a business, I would accept it, but then I would just hold the Bitcoin. I wouldn't sell it unless I need to. And then like over time, likely that will continue to grow as more people buy things Bitcoin, but also just as Bitcoin potentially goes up or down. But then you could borrow against it. Like, I don't know. It seems like a good use case for a business. The announcement comes amid renewed attention on corporate Bitcoin strategies as some publicly traded firms adopt a cryptocurrency as a treasury reserve asset. But Block is targeting a different segment of the market. There's a lot of talk about corporate Bitcoin right now, Sutter said, but like we did on Cash App, which is very much about the little guy and bringing accessibility to everyone, we want small and medium-sized merchants to also be able to get the benefits of Bitcoin. While Block hasn't released specific metrics yet, Sutter said merchants who participated in the Bitcoin conversation pilot have all profited. I mean, like, why wouldn't they, though, I guess? I mean, like, you know, assuming that you're selling something for $15 and they still give you $15, like, you're, like, and your margins are fine, like, you're gonna profit. I don't really know what this means, I guess. Every single seller is in the money and has made money based on converting a certain percentage of their daily sales. Okay, I mean, this feels like it's different, but... Yeah, I mean, like, Square's Bitcoin push joins a broader ecosystem at Block that includes BitKey, its self-custody wallet, Proto, a line of Bitcoin mining hardware and software, Spiral, its open source development arm, and Cash App's Bitcoin trading functionality. Okay. It seems like do you need to use... I'm confused on like the actual like how this works. It seems like, are they just talking about like immediately converting? No. Yeah, you could pay with Bitcoin. Like, can you use any wallet? Do you have to use the Cash App wallet? We're focused on making Bitcoin everyday currency. Sutter said, we believe that the internet needs a native currency and that's where all our focus has been today. It's just, why would it be Bitcoin though? Cool. That's interesting though. This is cool. Cool. I'm becoming like, more and more, I'm seeing the, the value of crypto more and more as we actually get more actual use cases for it. It's just been a speculative asset, and I think like Bitcoin and like all the like, the big ones are kind of still speculative assets, but the actual technology behind it is, I do see is useful. I think though it's more so like blockchain as a technology versus like currency. I see the value. The like stable coins, it's like the smart contracts, the programmability of it. That's where the value is, not necessarily in like the, like actual like money part, I guess. Like it's a combination of it, but I guess with Bitcoin, it's like, yeah, the blockchain technology behind it is valuable, but the front end is still a speculative asset, and like that combination still, I think is just not the best for merchants and using as like a short term, like checking account style hold of money. I think that like that's what stablecoin should be for. Bitcoin should be like, yeah, like a long term hold, or some, get some risk aversion, diversity, whatever, it's like, yeah, but this is cool. Also, yeah, it looks like Bitcoin 2025 is going on right now. I don't really know like what there is like that would be said here that could be interesting though, I guess. B.tc, that's a cool domain name. Oh yeah, Ross Ulbricht. Got Ross Ulbricht. Got all the Trumps here. Oh, we got Michael Saylor. Not sure who these some other people are. Oh, David Sachs. Okay. Yeah, he's the crypto czar right now. Anyways, I guess there hasn't been much news to come from that. We got this though, so. All right. Let's talk about just real quick, and it'll probably end stream here. Discord's new currency pays users to interact with ads. If anyone is thinking, to me, I immediately thought of something similar, and I thought of Basic Attention Token from Brave. They pay you when you watch an ad on Brave if you have that enabled. Seems very similar to what Discord is doing. I also wonder if there's other if this is a larger trend, if this is like, if there's other companies doing similar. But I think also particularly like, because Discord has a large foothold in gaming, and gamers are just like so sensitive when it comes to like changes and ads and really just new technology. Let's be real, they hate crypto, they hate AI, they hate ads. Like this is an interesting move by Discord. Also, this comes as Discord CEO steps down, and as Discord plans to IPO. They need to find profitability, at least not immediately, but they need to find a way to profitability if they are to IPO. Otherwise, they are in for a rough ride on the stock market. So this is an interesting move. I do would like a larger like report on this currency to pay users who view ads. I also see this as, they're essentially just sharing a portion of the revenue with users who view ads. So if if a company pays Discord like $2 per whatever click, it's like, you viewing the ad and getting this like currency, is Discord kind of sharing a percentage of that, which you could redeem for things that Discord might otherwise could sell for money. Like, it seems like it's going to be their little quest stuff about like decorating your profile and things. So yeah, I'm not quite sure. Not quite sure. So let's read. Oh, it's very short. Discord is beta testing Discord Orbs, a new in-app currency that can be redeemed for digital items. Discord has announced users earn orbs by completing the app's promotional quests. Discord's initiative that rewarded participants who interact with advertiser content like videos or stream specific games to friends. And also, like right now you could watch it and you kind of get the like themed little like things to like decorate your profile with. So like maybe they're transitioning that into this more currency that you could then use that to get stuff. I guess what could you use these orbs for? Also, orbs is a horrible name. Discord orbs. Discord orbs. Discord's initiative that rewards participants who interact with advertisers' content like videos, streams, and games friends, in addition to spending orbs on regular items. On the Discord shop, users can exchange the digital tokens for orb exclusives, like special badges or 3-day passes to try out Discord subscription services. What? Bro, orbs are like bonds or like they're like WoW tokens or bonds. It's like you know, like you could grind in game to then buy membership. It's gonna be like that for Discord. You could like grind out Discord orbs to pay for your Nitro membership. It's like, you know, you gotta do like your Discord dailies and weeklies to keep your Nitro up. Like Discord pays orbs are rolling out globally to a small number of users to start before a wider rollout. If you're part of the beta test for orbs, you'll get notifications like the one below. Let's see. I've done nothing. I've touched none of the Discord like profile decoration stuff, so I'm likely not going to be included in this. Although I have been a very long time and dedicated user of Discord, so I hope that would be considered. But I just don't care about the profile decoration stuff. I don't. Before this, publishers or brands that offered quests had to provide their own rewards, things like avatar decorations or in-game bonuses. They can still do that if they want. Discord spokesperson Bradley Sheets tells The Verge in an email, awarding orbs is simply an alternative option. Interesting. Yeah, I wonder what the Discord community's take on this is. Actually, let's look at Reddit. Let's go right now. This is the last topic, so. Reddit. Discord? I think the Reddit Discord's pretty active. Although, like, Reddit users are also kind of a part of the, like, gamer group who are just very sensitive to any changes. So. Oh, the r/Discord is not what I thought it was. Discord app. Dude, this is not that active. You can't even see it, but okay. It's like, it has 8 upvotes. Also, it looks like you could only do max amount of quests per day. Yeah, and like this is kind of what it's becoming, but like I guess like I use Discord more of like I don't use it as much. I like a social media, I guess. Like I use it as a place. It's like the hangout spot for our friends online. Like that's kind of what it is for me. I'm in other Discord servers, but like I'm not really, I don't like casually browse, I guess. Discord dollars, this is a good name. Okay, but like people are actually like not taking to this so bad. Why is this downvoted? It's like, God forbid someone asks for help on Reddit. Huh. Yeah, we'll have to see how the community takes this. I think it's cool. It's either that or they show ads. They show banner ads and they start fucking cluttering up the UI. You know, it's like, I know it's like, it shouldn't be one or the other, but just the reality of today. there's really not a good another Discord option right now, in my opinion, either. Like, Discord kind of got the market. Not to say that nothing could come along, just as Discord came along and kind of disrupted Skype and TeamSpeak and Mumble. People use Mumble. I used Mumble way back, but yeah, I don't know. Anyways, all right, that's going to do it for today's stream. Hopefully you guys learned something new, were entertained. Or got some value from it. We'll be back tomorrow. Tomorrow we got NVIDIA earnings. NVIDIA earnings. That's mostly, I don't know, like that's the main topic for tomorrow. Not sure about other stuff, but we'll see. Whatever comes up, whatever pops up. Also, if you are a viewer and ever want me to cover a topic, feel free to like DM me, email me, about a recent news topic. I'd happily, or like if you have a startup you want me to look at or cover that's like an emerging technology, like space, robotics, quantum computing, privacy, AI. I'm happy to look at those on stream too. I love speculating and just looking at new emerging technologies, new way to solve problems. So anyways, we'll be back tomorrow 9 a.m. Just NVIDIA earnings. I appreciate everyone hanging out, tuning in, showing up. And we'll see you tomorrow. Bye.